Today we're at Dubai Design Week, a platform that celebrates local and regional designers, traditional design, architecture, product design, digital design, and so much more. So join us while we check out some very cool design and speak to some very interesting people.
There aren't that many people that are familiar with upcoming and emerging designers, and a lot of these emerging designers are very talented.
And so rather than a theme, we have more of a principled approach in the way that we curate our content.
And we have people from everywhere, Iran, we have Morocco, we have the UAE, Lebanese, there's so many different places.
Hello everybody, welcome. Today we're going to be talking about what we liked at Dubai Design Week.
Arab and Islamic art pieces selling big at auction.
And music award highlights from the past week.
Hello, this is Culture Bites coming to you from the National News. I'm Enas Refaei.
I'm Farah Andrews.
And I'm Maan Jalal. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
We're back together.
Are we going to tell the truth?
I think we should tell the truth.
This is a 2.0. We had some technical issues, and so this is a retake.
This is a retake. Yeah, we did record this whole episode yesterday.
So hopefully this is going to come with even more energy.
More energy, less spontaneous. You guys won't be surprised that I knew some of the nominees for the music awards.
I'm very excited.
Yesterday.
Oh, spoilers.
Yeah.
But I feel so sure that we're still going to be able to surprise each other.
I think we can always. I
All
mean,
part of that chemistry.
That award-winning chemistry.
Yes, the award-winning chemistry. I was going to say, you surprised me today with your beautiful headscarf.
Oh.
Like, look at this. And the outfit changes from yesterday.
Oh, yeah. So here's the story. I was going to get a scrunchie. I'm a real scrunchie girl. I was going to get one of my scrunchies out. And then I remembered that I had this. I thought
You forgot you had Louis Vuitton.
It's because I feel bad about tying it, right? I feel like it should be flat, but then it should be used.
A friend of mine is framing hers and hanging it as art in her house.
Not one of these small ones. It'll be one of those
like
beautiful.
it's a
big
one.
Louis
Like
Vuitton
people do those
scarves.
amazing Hermes scarves.
Yes,
love
that's
frame
what
them.
exactly.
And the Hermes scarves are really stunning. I did think about buying one once. I have got a big silk scarf hanging in my bedroom,
Amazing.
but it's not Hermes.
But they are like art pieces. Hey,
They
we're
are.
going into art.
Yeah.
I was watching a video of someone they were trying to dissect exactly when and where a certain piece, like a photo was taken. And then they basically did like an ID on the Hermes scarf because they're so identifiable. They were like, well, this isn't this scarf because of this like part of the horse's bridle. Like everything is so...
There's a woman on Instagram whose whole thing is just, I think, scarves or Hermes scarves in particular. And she finds photos like maybe it's the same person actually.
Maybe it is, yeah.
And she finds the context and when it was made and all this kind of stuff.
I
There's
find
an
that
art
kind
to
of
everything.
thing.
Me
Yeah,
too.
so interesting. And because these scarves are limited edition, like
They all are?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
They have like a certain run. Like it isn't just like, they're so high end. It isn't like super mass produced. So then they are art pieces. I mean, that's a whole conversation. Art of fashion is fashion art.
Fashion art. I've got some friends of mine who have the Louis Vuitton trunks as coffee tables.
Oh, right.
Oh, wow.
I mean, I don't think it's for me,
Yeah, neither.
but
Big
it
glam.
works. It works for... I want to say friend. It's my friend's aunt. I think for a tante, it's okay.
Yeah, I think for an aunt vibe, it's...
I'm aghast.
Well, on that note, let's move on. The Grammys nominations were announced last Friday, and there's a lot of fun names on those lists. And one name that really stood out for me, which I want to share again, is Raye. Do you know Raye? Yes.
I don't, but I know her now.
You know her now.
Yeah.
So she is like a kind of soulful singer from the UK, and she's been doing lots of produced work with like the dance community, but also kind of like some of her songs kind of veer into that kind of Amy Winehouse orchestral music. And then other songs are quite like dancey. You must have heard of the song Prada.
Yeah, you had two songs that you listed yesterday.
Yeah, Escapism and Prada.
Yeah.
Which is
The name of your memoir.
The aspirational.
But yeah, so she shared the moment that she found out that she was nominated for the Grammys on her Instagram account. And it was quite a tearful moment. Really, she actually said in her Instagram post that God knows all it took to get here. This is too much. I can't stop crying.
Oh,
She's really lovely. Raye is one of those few artists that's been up and coming in the UK, but has actually struggled with the music industry. So she had to break free from her record label and has gone completely independent. So it's a big moment for her. So well done,
that is
Raye.
huge. I think there is the like we kind of have been thinking about a lot the kind of prestige of these ceremonies, and there is definitely, for music, like Grammys is synonymous with success, right? Like if you are, we can, like, countries around the world have their own awards ceremonies and they have their own very like identifiable awards brands, but Grammys is the
ultimate. It's
ultimate
universal
around the world. And there's so many artists that are just like constantly striving for that, and to kind of get that recognition is great, but it's not perfect, right?
No award ceremony is perfect, because you were mentioning something that I didn't know. So that it has they have an academy in the Grammys.
Yeah, so it's a recording academy, and a lot of artists do kind of talk about the fact that so many artists are overlooked by the academy. There are like super successful artists, people that you would think that are kind of like producing the best music, some of the best music, some of the best songs of the year, and they are kind of constantly getting overlooked. I think this is like something that The Weeknd has spoken a lot about in the past. He has kind of really called out the Grammys and the Recording Academy, saying, hey, like, it's very, they kind of have like one demographic, and that is often white American artists, and then other artists are all kind of put into other categories, like the Latin American categories and rap, hip hop categories. So it's very siloed, as some people think in that respect. But looking at the nominees this year, it does look like we have a bit more diversity, right?
Well, Beyonce has become the most nominated artist of all time, overtaking her husband Jay-Z.
Yes.
Wow.
99 over her whole career. That's
99 awards now.
But-
Well, or nominations.
Jay-Z has
Nominations.
88 nominations.
88.
but she's never won
Best album.
Best album, which is like interesting, because even with these big winners, I mean, can you get bigger than Beyonce? Like, even with someone like Beyonce, there's always still something that doesn't feel like or sound like you would assume that she would have won a Grammy for best.
See, takes
She's
me back to
never
what Bob would
read
say.
best album. She's never won best album.
I think Jay-Z called it out last year, didn't he?
It's a record of the year. She's never won.
Record of the year. What's the difference?
Record is like, it kind of like looks at the production and everything involved in the creation of a record.
Oh. And then album is just the music, like
think so.
the narrative vibe of the music.
Yeah, I think so.
It's
And
interesting.
then there's also Song of the Year.
Sometimes these awards are not that transparent for the average person. Like, a lot of people, we don't know how people are nominated, how they're voted for, like, unless it's like a public voting award.
This isn't a public voting thing.
This
and
isn't, yeah.
That's part of the reason why it's so controversial,
It's a
right?
bit mysterious.
It's mysterious.
And that's why we have like, it's not the same. It's similar to the Oscars. It's obviously not the same, but they're also the Academy.
Yeah.
And we've had like Oscar So White and
Yes.
the kind of like very 2D kind of their 2D appreciation of what is a high quality film. And I think it's kind of similar accusations that are leveled towards the Music Academy.
Well, I'm going to ask something a bit controversial here. I remember in the J-Lo documentary, she was upset she didn't win an Oscar for Hustler. Is that the movie that she was in? I can't remember the name of it. But I kind of was thinking, if you're J-Lo and you're famous in every single, multimillionaire, you're famous, does that matter that you don't have an Oscar? So I wonder, like, if who's someone who wasn't nominated for a Grammy, but they're all over, they're very
People
famous.
still want to
People want
aspire to
awards.
something, don't they? They just still need like something to aim towards. I mean, I don't know. I was going to say this quote earlier, but I got cut off about my dad. My dad would always say,
Oh, sorry.
it doesn't matter. Like, you might have a yacht, but someone else has always got a bigger one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I think once you're
within.
I think once you're nominated, I think that's enough. Honestly, like, I think like your name is out there, people know. I mean, winning would be great, but I feel like Andrew Garfield. Did you guys watch the interview with Andrew Garfield? And
Chicken Shop Day.
yeah. And he said that at one point in his career, he really wanted an Oscar, and then he got nominated a bunch of times. He didn't get it, and he was like, meh, it's fine. So I think at one point...
But then she's like, it'd be good if you had one there.
Yeah.
You sound like my dad. I think I respect your point of view there, and I really like that for you. And I think it sounds very healthy. Like you have a good level head.
Yeah, I want
But
a
I'm
gold
like,
signal.
I am not that. I'm like, if you get nominated, I'm my dad's daughter. It's like, oh, you got a B. Why was it not an A? Oh, you got an A. Why was it not an A plus? And so it's like, I got nominated. I would like to win that, please.
Well, speaking of which, and I'm putting our producers on a bit of pressure, I'm expecting our Cigna Award trophy to be arriving sometime in the next couple of months.
Does it?
I was talking
I can
to,
see our producers tapping their feet in anger.
physical.
Yes, we're supposed
Yeah,
to.
I would like to hold it.
I'd like for it to be here and hold it, yeah.
Well, yeah, I was even thinking about ordering my own one for my mantelpiece.
How is that something I can do?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Guys,
we're winners.
So,
We
does
are
that mean I
winners.
have to like buy it myself?
Yeah. Are you going to Washington anytime soon?
Yeah.
There we go then.
Okay.
We'll get one because it costs about $1,000 to transport it to the UAE.
No,
it's-
seriously?
Seriously, because it's about 5 kilos.
That feels like
Extortionate.
something we should be able to expense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's not talk about it right now. Let's go back to the Grammys.
No, let's get moving on from the Grammys. I want to take us to the EMAs, the MTV EMAs.
Okay.
Which are
go.
more awards that I think, have a bit more, for me, like it's voter based. So you can actually, it's a bit more quote unquote transparent.
Here's our man of the people.
Yeah.
That's
yeah.
a new segment that we'll be starting. When you speak on behalf of the voting public, not academy.
Yeah, exactly.
So big week for Maan this week.
Yes.
You've done some music reporting.
I have done some music reporting on
Do you want to
MTV.
talk to us about it?
Yes. So the MTV Europe Music Awards happened. And there were some big winners, which include Sabrina Carpenter, Taylor Swift, of course, Ariana Grande, Calvin Harris, Imagine Dragons, who performed here, I think, like last year for here in Dubai
As
or
an
Abu
aside,
Dhabi.
they are wildly popular.
They are so popular.
They're a band that kind of goes over, like, I know they're pretty mainstream and like people, they have that Thunder song. And they filmed a video for it in DIFC in Dubai.
Oh, I'll check them out.
Yeah.
I
But
feel
they are
really out of
so
the loop
popular.
right now, man. Knows.
Well, my nephew's obsessed with them. So that's
Okay.
how, young kids, older people, they all like Imagine Dragons.
Okay, cool.
I'll show you a video later, and the singer mainly like parades around the stage with his shirt off, and that probably is quite a lot of the appeal.
I'm down.
So there was some really cool Arab representation at the MTV Europe Music Awards. So Rita Ora wore a dress by the Saudi courtier designer Ashi Studio.
Nice.
But actually what I thought was really interesting is that there were different categories of awards, and one of them was like Best Indian Act. And the person who won is a singer called Mali from India. And it was kind of like a surprise win because she was up against some really big names in India who have massive followers online. Like one of them has 14 million followers. She has a much more conservative followership. And we had an exchange on email for a story that we wrote about her winning. And it was really cool because she comes from quite humble beginnings, she's not like a Nepo baby. She comes from like a family that's into music, but not involved in the music scene. She studied business and decided to do music after. And it was really interesting, conversing with her because her musical influence, she sings in English and in Hindi.
Nice.
And her music videos are like very cool, very fun, very poppy music. But she's also a songwriter. So her influences were everyone from like Stevie Nicks to Backstreet Boys to The Corrs. So even when you hear her music, you can see elements of that, especially in the songwriting. She was talking a lot about how in her songwriting, she's very influenced by, like most songwriters, about what's happening in her life, moving to different countries. So it has her songs have nice narrative tales. And her first album came out in 2013. It was an EP. And she's had one major studio album that came out and a couple of independent songs that have been out with films and stuff like that. But she would like to come to the UAE and do a performance here at some point because she likes the UAE. She comes a lot.
I'm sure it'd be wildly successful as well. We've got a
would.
huge Indian population
Yeah,
here.
definitely.
So let's bring her over.
Interesting about her is obviously it's a public vote, which is great to see. But she was up against some pretty big names, all of which have pretty significant social media followings, kind of like million plus.
Yes,
So someone had
14 million plus.
She has 42,000
Yeah.
followers.
42,000.
So not to be sniffed at, but also it's just amazing that she kind of came around as this kind of like underdog. I love an underdog.
I love an underdog
We
story.
all love an underdog. I think as well, it's really interesting. We've got everyone keeps referring to the global south. And
Yes.
just like how influential now we're seeing that people are taking inspiration from the cause and Hindi music
Yes.
and merging it together and making something new and fresh and exciting. And what a time to be alive to witness it.
Yeah.
I really am. Like, I remember when I think I was before university that I found out about MIA, who's the Sri Lankan megastar who grew up in London. And just like her taking Bollywood songs and like remixing them into these kind of like dance, fun music. Me thinking like, whoa, this is like revolution.
You know what was MIA for me?
What was it?
Bend It Like Beckham. All the soundtrack on there was just this kind of music that I'd never heard that combination before.
Amazing.
I have not thought about Bend It Like Beckham anywhere near recently enough.
I think about it all the time.
What a film.
What a film. The film that launched Keira Knightley's career. The film that like made to me like Bollywood like such a, very, I'd never thought about, and I ended up watching a bunch of other South Asian British films. What's that very, very famous one?
Well, it's Goodness Gracious Me was like
Yes.
that's like a
It's a
TV show.
No, there's another film. I'll think about it and let you know.
I'll find it out.
Yeah.
I'll find
So
it out.
it's a whole genre that I just never knew I was so into,
Oh,
But
I'm a
that's
big
an
Bollywood
amazing
fan.
film. I need to rewatch it.
The early noughties Bollywood
Yes.
films are my jam. Kabhi
Yeah.
Khushi Kabhi Gum, Dil Chahta Hai. Oh, love it. Anyway,
Yeah.
That's a can of worms, but let's not open it right now.
So, man, what have you been up to this week?
So Dubai Design Week happened just this previous week. It happens in Dubai Design District. It was the 10th anniversary edition, so a big deal. They also have, as part of it, Downtown Design, which is in the big white tent in Dubai Design District, which focuses more on brands, regional brands and local brands that are selling everything from furniture and product design, lighting. And the Design District section had lots of installations by local and regional artists and designers. And they also had a market, which was on from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. that had, regional artists, designers, food stalls and
Nice.
everything. It was very cool. And yeah, I was there. I got to speak to the director of the festival, Natasha Kerala. So we talked about the fact that the festival has been on for 10 years. We spoke about a new part of the festival, which is editions, which this year was the first year, which focuses on art that you can hang in your home and limited edition prints. I also spoke to Omar Al Gorg, who is an Emirati designer, and he curated a wonderful show about emerging Emirati designers. So all of that is in this lovely segment that I did just last week.
Let's hear all about it.
Yeah. Today we're at Dubai Design Week, a platform that celebrates local and regional designers. And this year they're celebrating an important milestone. It's their 10th edition anniversary. And behind me is a stunning piece by Ola Saad Zned, which reflects and reimagines the communal gathering space of Marsh Arabs from Iraq. This is just one example of the many diverse works that's on display at the festival. Across traditional design, architecture, product design, digital design, and so much more, we're here not only to see what's on show, but to see how the fair has evolved over the past 10 years and what the future holds. So join us while we check out some very cool design and speak to some very interesting people. So we are talking with Natasha Kerala, who is director of Dubai Design Week. How does it feel to have everything coming together across the past couple of days?
It still feels a little bit surreal because, when you work so hard on something year round and finally see it culminate, it's just such a pleasure, but also seems almost dreamlike, I would say.
So this year is the 10th anniversary edition of Dubai Design Week. Tell us, how has the festival evolved from its inception?
Absolutely. In fact, yes, we're really excited because it is an exciting milestone for us as the largest design festival in the region. I would say that it's not just the festival itself, but the entire ecosystem, which we've seen really evolve, and that is somewhat snapshot or showcased within the festival. So, 10 years ago, there was definitely not so many sort of established or emerging designers based or from here. I would also say that there has been a push, and we see that today, of really kind of emphasizing local making. Yeah. I think that's testament even beyond the design industry that, in the UAE in the past, it was a bit of the import culture. but we all have the desire to kind of produce from here, and we see that in the manufacturing sort of like offerings and processes within the production line as well. So I would say that we are more representative of who we are, own that narrative more, and that's showcased this year. We can see that much more.
So talking about that point in particular, if you can elaborate a little bit, like there's this perception, right, about what is Arab design or what is Middle Eastern design or design from the region. There's a perception abroad that it's one specific thing. But festivals like this show you that it really isn't.
Oh, absolutely. And we try to do that across our programming. And that's something that is very much a will by all of our participants, including ourselves. We feel that we definitely have that responsibility to sort of represent the region in the correct way. Like you said, there is somewhat still this monolithic perception of what the Arab world represents in terms of its vernacular architecture and design, when we know ourselves the nuances that you can find between an Iraq and a Saudi, let alone a Dubai and a Sharjah. And I feel like it really is our responsibility to honor those stories, and design is a great tool to use to sort of represent this storytelling and culture. And so, it's evident, for example, in one of our Abwabs this year. Abwab is our own special commissions program where we have winning proposals from participants from the Swana region. And one of the projects this year is by this amazing young Iraqi architect, Ola Saad Zanad.
We saw that before. It's beautiful.
Exactly. And this is showcasing sort of like the vernacular architecture of a marginalized community in southern Iraq, who produce everything, their entire structures and villages, using these reeds because they live in the marshlands. And so it's just showing that there is that diversity, but also that there are a lot of these ancient methodologies and technologies that exist within the Arab world which should be addressed today in terms of what it means for responsible design.
Yeah. And it's really interesting because you use the word diversity, and walking through the festival, it is very diverse, despite the fact that it's interesting that there is no specific theme this year. So can you tell us about that decision and what the ethos was around
Sure.
the festival this year?
Yeah, we chose to stay away from themes because I think they can be a little bit forced sometimes, especially when we talk about design. It's a huge umbrella of a multitude of disciplines, right? You have architecture, product design, graphic design, industrial, urban planning, and so forth. And so rather than a theme, we have more of a principled approach in the way that we curate our content. And that's across whether it's our installations, exhibitions, workshops, even the trade fair we're standing in today, downtown design. And that is one, making sure that we're really representative, as I said, of voices from the region. So that we can tell that nuanced sort of storytelling and representation.
So we are here with Omar Al Gorg, the Emirati designer and curator of the Emirati Designer Exhibition. Hey Omar.
Hi Maan, how are you doing?
I'm good, how are you doing?
Good, thank you for asking.
So there's 33 designers as part of the exhibition, 7 of which are Emirati.
Yes.
So tell me, why is it really important to highlight and give a platform to these young designers?
I think it's really important because there aren't that many people that are familiar with upcoming and emerging designers, and a lot of these emerging designers are very talented.
Especially in the region.
And they're very knowledgeable, and there's a lot that we can learn from them, and there's a lot that they can learn from the industry. Because if we don't showcase their talent, then we won't be able to kind of develop our craft as a community, as a design community in the region.
And when you were bringing the show together and working with the designers, was there any interesting patterns or surprises or trends that you saw when you're bringing the work together?
Yeah, actually, I was surprised by the amount of people that were, experimenting with color and form. Now, you can tell by how colorful the booth is. Everybody is kind of exploring all of these different shapes and sizes, and it's very exciting to see. It's very refreshing, actually.
And it's really cool looking at the exhibition behind us. It doesn't feel like a sterile exhibition space. It feels like a lived-in space. That was your aim when you were putting the show together?
It was, I wanted all of the pieces to interact with each other because I didn't want it to feel like a sterile space, like you just said, Because I feel like when the pieces do interact with each other, there's an element of storytelling that happens, and then the people can really see the potential of every single product. And what happens is the designers actually start to talk to each other, and then they start to communicate, and it opens up new opportunities for collaboration in the future. Yeah.
So, final question I wanted to ask you is, what do you hope people who maybe don't know much about UAE-based designers? What do you hope they will take away from when they walk through the exhibition that you've curated?
I hope that they can see that there is potential in the region. You know, I know that they already probably do know that in the back of their minds, but I want to bring it to the front of their minds. I want them to see that the designers that are based in the region actually have a lot of character to them. They're great in quality, they're trustworthy, and I want them to support them. You know, I want the audience to be able to support the designers so that the designers can keep producing amazing work. Yeah.
I have one more question I want to ask, actually, and this is a bit off the cuff.
Yeah.
But do you think there is a definition for what is Arab design?
So I'm not sure, you know. I don't think that there is a proper definition for what Arab design is. A lot of people in different regions design in different ways, and that's because of their experiences and, you know, their subconscious also comes into play when they're designing, because there is a very fine line between art and design. They're both creative practices.
They intersect quite a lot.
Yeah, they do intersect quite a lot, you know, and that's why you see additions here in downtown design as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. But I believe that Arab design has a different kind of character to it when it comes to this region as opposed to other regions. I believe that it can still be elevated, but in a different way. You know, it doesn't necessarily have to follow the pathway of European design per se. Yeah.
I ask because I think, you know, people outside the region think of like, oh, Arab design is one particular.
No, it's
So
not.
good to show that, especially in this exhibition, that
Yeah.
it's nuanced.
Yeah. And we have people from everywhere, you know, Iran, we have Morocco, we have the UAE, Lebanese, you know, there's so many different places.
Thank you for that, Maan. Loved that little insight into Design Week.
It was a lot of fun.
Let's talk some more kind of regional art news. There's been an awful lot of very significant art auctions from the Middle East and Islamic world taking place, mainly in London, but we've had quite a few from Sotheby's and Christie's.
Yes, and a lot of the auctions that happen in London always end up bringing some of the highlights from those auctions here, whether it's through Sotheby's or Christie's. And a lot of it is very much focused, like you said, either on the Islamic world or South Asia or modern and contemporary works by Arab artists or artists from the region. So there's been actually a lot happening over the past month and a lot of news coming from that area. So they just had the modern contemporary Middle Eastern art sale that took place earlier this month in London, which had highlights here. They had some beautiful landscape works, and specifically works from the Jalal collection, which we talk a lot about on the podcast. Actually, they have an amazing collection of Arab modern art. And I got to speak to the chairman of Christie's about this focus on Arab art recently. And he was saying that it's really positive and it's really great to see that there's a lot of interest, not only from people living in the region, but people outside of the region looking at what's happening with art here, whether it's contemporary art or art from the ancient world.
Did he have an insight into kind of where the shift in perspective has come from? Obviously, we get to kind of like see it and appreciate it all the time, but kind of having this like new appreciation coming from around the world, coming from the UK, like
the main thing that he pointed out to was the fact that people are realizing how diverse the region is, not only geographically and within one country, but actually the art is very diverse, and how the particular like timeline that makes sense in the Western canon doesn't always make sense in the Middle Eastern canon, and that how that influences like whatever historical things that happened here, whether it was wars or whether it was, you know, publishing happening here or the advent of electricity or whatever, and how that influenced artists here very differently, because a lot of artists from the region, especially if we're talking about modern art, take a lot of traditional ideas of Middle Eastern art and then combine it with European art that they've studied, and it creates something completely different and new. And that, again, that varies whether you're talking about Egyptian rural artists or Egyptian modern artists or Syrian artists or Iraqi artists. And that's discounting even the ancient calligraphy and
sculpting
and one piece that we've been talking a lot about in the office. Do you want to talk about that?
I was going to say, just to go back to what you were just about to say then, I think from a Western point of view, there is often really, really broad strokes applied to art from this region. And it often is kind of
Orientalist.
It's completely. And it is, people just kind of put it in the boxes of incredible calligraphy. They do, and the Orientalist perspective, and then kind of looking to tapestries. And but there's like the kind of point being proved over and over and over again that it is so much more diverse. It is not one genre. It is not one type of art. It is a complete plethora of artists. And then, that kind of even looking to ancient pieces, like the piece that we've spoken about in the office so much, it's kind of really captured all of our imaginations. There was a Sotheby's sale last month that you had the joy of seeing some of the pieces.
The actual piece that we've all been talking
It
about.
was a bronze buck.
And for those of you who don't know what a bronze buck is, a buck is a type of deer.
Yeah.
With the horns.
It's made of bronze.
And it's made of bronze.
But it's not just a sculpture, this piece,
no,
right?
It is like a jug. It would have been used as, I don't know what the actual term is, but basically it was a jug, and either would have been ceremonial or would have been used in like very like high, royal court, diplomatic kind of dinners and settings.
I love that. I have a tendency to sometimes lean towards the kitsch. That might come as a surprise.
Yes.
It won't come as a surprise to Enas. She's been in my house.
Yeah.
And I have a little jug that is not a glug jug. I do love a glug jug though.
I've got a glug jug.
It's a little jug that is a pink flowery cow, and you pop your cow in, and you put your milk in, and then the milk spouts out its mouth, and it brings me so much joy.
Kitsch is the perfect word.
Every time I use it, I'm like, what a life. And I just feel so happy for those 8th century artists.
Exactly.
We're doing the same thing.
Noble people who were just getting some joy out of that buck.
Because you don't know in a couple of 100 years what your cow jug will be.
One can only hope it's fetching £1.4 million, $5.4 million at auction per the bronze buck.
And when it was initially estimated to be £3 million. So it really exceeded.
And it's, 4.2 from the Umayyad period.
Yes, which is a long time ago. But I think the reason why this particular buck was of real interest is that a lot of the times at that time, it wasn't in the same way. Like artists now will sign their work, but at that time it wasn't common to sign your work. So this particular buck has the name of the craftsman who crafted it, as well as who commissioned the work. So they have 2 names of people that are connected to the work, which is really rare. And you can actually, when I saw the buck in real life, you can actually see the engraving on, I think it was the breast or the base of the neck of the buck, the engraving of the name of the artist and who it was commissioned to. So that was really cool. And also, what's interesting is that even though this was, in the 8th century, so long ago, it's interesting to see that when the artist designed this, it feels timeless in that it looks like I made a comparison to like a character from Frozen. It feels animated, the way the buck's head is tilting a little bit, the look in his eyes, the way his hooves are kind of inverted into each other. It has a bit of life.
Character.
A bit of character, a bit of life. It has like a bit of character, yeah. So I just think that's really fascinating. The artist would have really thought about how to make this creature like lovable and real. Do you know what I mean? So I think that is part of its charm.
It's not that big though.
It's not, no.
When I first, this is like, because we've been talking about this piece for so long because it was expected to make so much money and then it did really surpass the expectation. I was kind of expecting it to be, like, based on the first photo I saw of it, kind of similar size to the dog in the apartment in Friends. Kind of like
Joey's dog, yeah.
Put the buck beside me here and I'll lean on it. But no, it's cute. It's small. It's like A4 piece of paper.
So not much bronze for that 4-point-something million pounds.
It's solid, right?
It can't be solid because you're pouring something. No. But if you look at, again, the detail, there's just enough lines that tells you like this buck, his head is tilting, his eyes look like this. It's like, it's basically been made by somebody who really understands his craft. This is why it's all, you don't see any seams. Like,
can I ask a potentially silly question? Geographically, where is it linked to? Where was it made?
I think it would have been Iraq, modern day Iraq, Mesopotamia, yeah. So that was very cool.
And it's not just, people are not just taking interest out of like Umayyad period or like really old things. We've also got things coming up for auction that are much more modern history. So we've got the 1963 Rolex day-date watch, which belonged to the former Egyptian president, Gamal Abdel Nasser. Yes. So I was going to test you guys, but as You now
We
know.
can't play games.
We can't play games. We all know how much
This is a gameless show.
But so Sotheby's is estimating it will reach $60,000.
Yeah, it's in the bracket of 30 to 60,000 in the estimate.
We can still
you
play
think
games.
It's going to go more.
We can still play games. I think it's going to
good
get
game.
much more than that.
Yeah.
I think
This is
it's
a
gonna-
long-term game.
Yeah, in the long term. When it comes, we'll see. We'll bring
Play
it.
the
We'll talk
long
about it
game.
again.
Yeah, I think it will reach $100,000.
I think so as well.
And it's nice.
Yeah.
It's amazing to see because we do see, obviously, I mean, Sotheby's and Christie's, I was going to call them Crispies, Christie's, are synonymous with art and luxury auctions. And we see it so frequently. They bring out incredible gems, enormous diamonds, like incredible watches.
Handbags.
We know that, yeah. And what watches like Rolexes really hold their value, especially when they've got a very key personality linked to them. And we see them come out here kind of like on display, on show in the DIFC
Spaces,
kind of
yeah.
spaces. But it's really great to see that there are pieces that are regionally linked and that have real historical context for the region. And so people like Gamal Abdel Nasser, who has these pieces that were being worn during such like key moments in regional history. And then now there's people with such a fascination with him that obviously have some dirhams to spend that are going to go down and buy his Rolex.
Yeah, it's interesting to see memorabilia from like modern history. But what I liked about Gamal Abdel Nasser is he wasn't, you were saying earlier that he wasn't like a massive fan of luxury goods. So this is quite a special piece.
Yeah, I can credit Sarah Macy, one of our amazing fashion experts, for teaching me about this. He rejected these kind of very impressive objects. He wasn't someone that had a kind of massive collection of 8, 9 Rolexes. Even as an Egyptian president, he had this one, and it was a gift.
Interesting. So yeah, we'll see how much it goes for.
And there's also some really cool news from Sotheby's that came out yesterday. Oh, well, a few days ago now when this podcast airs. They have started a partnership with some UAE galleries, 10 UAE galleries to be particular. Some of them include the Third Line, Green Art, and Tabari Art Space, where over the next 2 years, starting from this November until 2026, they'll be partnering with these galleries to do exhibitions in their space in DIFC, where these galleries will be showing either group exhibitions or focusing on one artist from the region, emerging or established, to show their work in the DIFC space of Sotheby's. And it's a really great way to showcase not only artists from the region, again, whether established or emerging, but also really shine a light from an international perspective like Sotheby's on the work that all these galleries have been doing in the UAE to build the infrastructure for art and artists and, art and culture enthusiasts. So I'm really excited about this. They have their first exhibition on now. It's called Jewel at the Sotheby's DIFC space. And then in the article that we have written that's on our website, we have the next 2 exhibitions after that. So 3 altogether that go up all the way until, I think, March it is next year. So that's really cool and exciting.
Fun.
Love that. Should we do some recommendations?
Let's move on to my favorite part of the show, which is our recommendations for the week.
My favorite part of the show where I talk about things I'm interested in.
Yeah, that I like. So I'll start off. My recommendation this week is the Martha Stewart documentary, which is on Netflix. Have you seen it?
No.
Have you seen
I
it?
haven't seen it yet, no.
It's brilliant.
Would you have been dazzled if since yesterday I'd gone home, watched it, got it all done?
I wouldn't put it past you.
Hey,
I have seen more
strange things
memes
happen.
since yesterday,
You've seen
actually.
even more
You've
memes.
watched more memes.
So if you don't know who Martha Stewart is, she is
What are you doing?
What are you doing? But she is an American kind of homemaker who became incredibly famous during the 90s for decorating tables in beautiful ways and like teaching everybody how to make jam. It sounds kind of basic, but she built from this like kind of interest that she had in homemaking, $1 billion business.
$1 billion business.
She became the first self-made American woman billionaire on the stock exchange. A few caveats there. But no, it's an incredible
less
documentary. It's very impressive. The documentary is filmed in a really interesting way where we have like lots of one-on-ones with Martha herself because it all comes crashing down like all good stories. There is a turn and she gets imprisoned. for insider trading.
So the documentary really has like some one-on-one footage with her.
It's brilliant.
Do we have any other talking heads in it of note?
Yeah, there are other talking heads. But what I really liked about it, though, is that they used a lot of animation. So you really are concentrating on Martha and her story, but you're also making up your own mind. She's a very interesting woman.
Yes, eccentric lady.
Animation.
She's eccentric. Yeah, animation. Yeah.
Like
Watch
drawing.
it. Watch it. It's a recommendation. But I really like the fact that she's not your kind of typical warm, cuddly woman who you expect to be this homemaker. She's actually quite fierce, dedicated.
There's definitely edge there, isn't there?
And there's a big edge there. And by the end of the documentary, you see how she's best friends with Snoop Dogg. There's a little gem.
That's what I'd go into.
Yes, great career trajectory.
I'd like all careers to end with a Snoop Dogg friendship.
Farah, what's your recommendation this week?
Oh, wait, you did not say, is it Netflix that we can
Oh,
watch?
yes, it's on Netflix. Sorry.
Amazing.
Yeah, watch it on Netflix.
From me, I am recommending Shrinking on Apple TV+. Have either of you watched it?
Not yet, no.
Not yet.
No? Not no? Duh. Have you watched more? Yeah. Good.
She's watched. Our producer is just nodding furiously. She loved the show. She took
has
the
taken-
recommendation.
Finally, someone's taken one of my recommendations on. It feels like a good day. It is a brilliant TV show. The second season has just started. So the first series was on last year. We've got Harrison Ford. We've got Jason Segel. I think it's Segel. It might be Siegel. Who knows? And it's set within the world of therapy, and they are therapists we kind of see their clients and kind of the slightly off-piste, off-the-wall advice they give some of their clients. And we also see that their lives are not completely without hiccups.
It's
Wait
a
a
comedy,
second.
yeah?
Is
Comedy?
we saying that therapists don't live perfectly?
Hey,
Stranger
there's no
Things.
such thing as a perfect life.
Yeah. It's a comedy, yeah?
Very much so. Very funny. You're really rooting for all of them. It's quite feel good.
Okay.
And where is it streaming?
Apple TV
Apple
Plus.
TV.
And where is it set? I was like, probably LA. I don't know. Oh, it is. It's Pasadena.
Pasadena.
To answer a question I gave myself.
Okay, over to you, man. What's your recommendation?
So my recommendation is a book, The Covenant of Water by Abraham Verghese. I think I'm pronouncing his name right. So I have finally given in to reading this book. It's been on all of it was, I think, a New York Times bestseller for 37 weeks.
Wow.
Yes, Oprah's book club for 2023. It's a thick book. I kind of don't read.
How many
thick
pages are
books.
we on there?
How many pages is it? Where am I up
Is
to?
it?
It is 715 pages.
Oh.
So it's a whopper. But I picked it up, I read the first page, and I was hooked. It's set in India across 3 generations of a family, and something very strange happens with every generation. For some reason, somebody dies via drowning. So they're sort of trying to figure out what's happening there, why people keep drowning. And at the same time, it's a real interesting look at how India changes during that time, socially, politically, through the perspective of this one family. So yeah, it's a brilliant book so far.
A
I'm really enjoying
million
it.
copy bestseller.
Oh, good for them.
Yes, and also he's coming to the UAE actually.
Ah.
He's coming for the Emirates Festival of Literature. So he'll be here to do a talk. So listen to the book on audio or buy it and read it, and you can go check him out.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Very interesting.
Can I ask you a question?
sure.
Do you use Goodreads?
I don't. I got a Goodreads account, and then I got so overwhelmed by having to put all the books I've ever read, and I was like, oh, I just can't be bothered.
Oh, why don't you just start from today? And
yeah,
I
I
can-
could. I keep thinking Goodreads.
Goodreads. People put the books that they're reading, the books that they want to read, and give them ratings.
Star reviews.
And
yeah.
I do feel, I mean, I've got quite into it this year because I set myself a goal and I've achieved it. And that means I like it now. If I do something and I succeed, and then I'm like, I'm willing to talk about it, which is why I bring Goodreads up now, because I would not have done that like 3 months ago when I was not achieving.
Okay.
What was your reading goal this year?
20. So I made it quite doable.
Great. Okay.
That's not doable for me.
And
It
it's
takes me so long these days.
but-
Children.
yeah.
Audible.
Audible.
Oh, you know, actually, I do listen to a lot of books.
Yeah. So people can see what you're reading and rate and kind of engage. But I was just going to say, if you're someone I would enjoy engaging with.
I go on there and read. I've discovered a lot of really interesting authors through Goodreads from the
Yeah.
recommendations. So yeah, maybe I'll give another go. Maybe that'll be my goal for
back.
the year.
Oh,
yeah.
maybe
Come
that's a
back.
recommendation from
Connect.
Farah.
Come back and connect. If anyone wants to connect with me, I'm willing.
Wow. 2 recommendations from Farah Andrews on Goodread.
There we are.
Well, that's it for today's episode of Culture Bites. Thank you so much for listening or watching.
And if you like this episode, please follow and subscribe on your choice of podcasting app.
And don't forget to tell your friends and family about us, as well as go on our Instagram and like and share our videos.
Bye.
Bye.
See you.